there. Good afternoon. These are very laid back. This feels more like a Formula One car than a...
It's a bit dangerous,
Yeah.
like Formula One.
Yes. Well, my feet should be up.
So, hello everyone. Hi David. Thanks a lot for being with us today. So, the title of the panel is From the Track to the Boardroom. Can you tell us more about how you went from the track to the boardroom?
Well, if you look at Formula One as a business, it's certainly a big business. It's a global business. If you look at it as a sport, it's a big sport. It's a global sport. So that whole journey through my time as a driver, I did 15 seasons in Formula One driving, but I'd been 3 seasons before that as a test driver for the likes of Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, 3 guys that were world champions and were already globally known, maybe not as connected as the world we live in today, but certainly it was clear that Formula One as a business connected the world and connected people. So, I had that sort of 18 years behind the steering, and then the last 18 years I've been in various businesses and behind the microphone working in television. So you're constantly being connected with individuals, with groups, with companies, with businesses. And therefore, the two fit hand in glove. You cannot have a Formula One car without partners, sponsors, engineers, technicians, all of the new technology that Formula One's generated over the years. So as a driver, you're not the catalyst because you're not the designer, you don't build the car, but certainly you're like the ultimate customer for all of these businesses because you're critiquing the car, you're critiquing the engine, the software, all of the tools that are necessary to be fast out on the racetrack. But of course, you've got enough sport in the DNA of Formula One to have the public interest as well. So I see it as an incredible business university, actually, the world of Formula One.
So Formula One is a business university? Okay. But where did the inspiration to build the Whisper and Velocity experience came from?
So when I retired from Formula One at the end of 2008, I'd already signed to work for BBC as a pundit. As is often the case, you see ex-sports people, when they can't do it anymore, they talk about it, and I fell into that category. The inspiration for that actually came when I was 14 years old. I was watching Formula One with my father back in Scotland, and we were listening to a commentator called Murray Walker, who anyone who's watched British TV will know him, and an ex-Formula One driver called James Hunt. And I remember my father saying to me that if you're lucky, you'll have a 10-year sporting career. But if you look at the likes of James Hunt, there's a career beyond driving in television. So that seed had already been sown in my head. So in my last year in Formula One, I signed a contract to work with BBC. And I went from November 2008, being a Formula One driver, to March 2009, standing with a microphone, listening to Fleetwood Mac's The Chain in my ear, as we were about to be counted down to doing a live broadcast from Australia. And so that, nervous and excited and all the good things that go with a live broadcast. We do the show, and after the show, I go to the senior production lead and said, what time are we doing the debrief to talk about not the things we did well, because if we did them well, that's expected, but to talk about the things we did not well. Where did I miss a count, if we were out of position, a live sports broadcast from a pit lane or from a grid or from a paddock, there's a lot of dynamics there, a lot of things you can't control. So it's not like doing a studio TV show where you can really control the environment. And my heart sunk when the person said, we don't do a team debrief, we'll speak individually in the coming days. And it just struck me like a dagger in my chest, because I'd grown up through always being part of a team, always debriefing immediately afterwards. And anyone who's involved in other sports here will know this. It doesn't matter if you win the event, spray the champagne, hold the trophy. You have to sit down and look at where did you lose points, where did you lose time, where could you be better, because that is your biggest source of growth and opportunity. And from that moment on, from that very first broadcast with the BBC, I thought there could be a better way. There could be a way of running a production business like a Formula One team. Just because television's there and sports over there, in the end it comes down to people, and it comes down to team, and it comes down to teamwork and team effort and analysis and vision and all of the good things every one of you in this room knows. So that sowed the seeds of conversations that led to a partnership with Sunil Patel, who's the CEO of Whisper, and Jake Humphrey, who has a very successful side business to Whisper called High Performance in the podcasting world. So my thing was, if I do the funding, they have the creative skills in television. So as a Formula One driver, I have no engineering skills, no design skills, no capability to build the car, but I could drive the car. So I didn't have any fear of being in an industry that I didn't really know much about, because I felt that I knew about team and I knew about teamwork and bringing people together. And where are we 15 years later, and Whisper is still on a very good growth path. We're doing the broadcast from Roland Garros. We secured a 5-year contract, I believe. Embarrassing if it's actually 6, and I got that wrong by a year.
Sunil will be here tomorrow.
Sunil, yeah, my partner, and will be here tomorrow. So, delighted that we've had growth outside of motorsport into so many other sports, but we have a vision to put together the best team that we can. No surprise there. Everyone tries to do that. But I believe we have an honesty, which is we don't pretend we're perfect. Who won the Grand Prix at the weekend? Oh, Antonelli again. He's not perfect. He's not the finished article. He'll make mistakes, but he's doing enough to win. And in business, we're the same. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we admit them, we own them, we find solutions, and we move forward. So I think honesty is something that we bring to the growth of that business. Got a lot of people, and we've all done it, haven't we? When we were younger, maybe, where you don't really know something when somebody's talking, and you try and wing it. You try and pretend you know what they're talking about. I'm 55. If I don't understand the word you've used, I'm going to say, what does that big word mean? Because I come from Scotland. I don't know the Oxford English Dictionary to perfection. So, everything we do now is about just matter of fact and the vision to try and be the best. But as I say, admitting when we don't know something.
There's one key topic at the heart of your career. It's experience. How do you feel people are experiencing sport right now? Like, what's the evolution in how people are experiencing sport?
Yeah, I think the growth has been incredible, hasn't it? When I look back in my era of being a driver in Formula One, we all felt pretty good with how this sport was presented. We felt pretty good about how it was consumed. But little did we know that we were missing so many opportunities. And I think that's where Liberty the new owners of Formula One, saw the potential and came and helped untap. Through a kind of perfect storm, they agreed to Drive to Survive. But they couldn't have known, unless they created COVID, they couldn't have known that series was going to come out when people were being forced to be at home, and then suddenly the eyeballs, especially the younger generation, were looking to consume as much sport content as they possibly could. So obviously tongue-in-cheek that they created COVID, but there was certainly an element, if you look in the first years, Ferrari weren't involved, Mercedes weren't involved, because they were like, why should we give free access? We charge people to get access to our sports team. After a year, they went, yep, we'll give you free access. We understand the growth potential, and it's opened up America, and it's opened up, I don't have the exact figures in my head, but I think we're close to 40% female audience, huge amount of growth in the young generation. America has opened up as a sort of holy grail of sports opportunity, and the growth seems to still be continuing. So it's great to see.
And is there anything you're worried about Formula One's growth? About Formula One, is there one thing that worries you?
Well, I think that anyone who follows Formula One will see that we've entered another era of the sport, and it's an era which is trying to talk to the automotive sector and the need for the big OEMs to have hybrid for sure, and electrification is something that we've all been hearing about for a very long time. And Formula One has always tried to appeal to having the manufacturer involvement there. I think at various times where mistakes have been made is to be dependent on the manufacturers, because you've got no control over that third party's running of their business and their sales and their growth, because if that company starts to struggle and they therefore understandably decide to not invest in Formula One, you've created something that then the person who wanted it is no longer involved. So I think that what I hope for Formula One going forward is that we continue to be the fastest form of closed circuit racing. We continue to be innovators in finding solutions to problems that we didn't really know was a problem until we pushed the boundaries. But we are more, let's say, in control of the destiny of the name Formula One and what Formula One represents, and not be reliant on OEMs that a huge part of the sport, no question. But, you know, it's like giving your baby to someone else to bring them up. Point of having a child is you want to raise that child yourself. So I think we have to be always majority responsible for the future and not just on those that choose to come and go. Because the history of the sport would suggest that manufacturers come in and then they leave because there's a new CEO and he has a new vision and he needs to cut costs, and it's a quick way to cut costs. And then they realize over time Formula One is one of the best communicators with a global audience when it comes to representing success and vision on track. Then they reinvest in the sport, and we've seen it several times. So, you know, there has to be some link between Ferrari, a brand that never advertised in normal standard form. You'll never see a TV advert for Ferrari. You'll never see a magazine advertisement for Ferrari. They advertise through Formula One. And even when they're not winning, which they look like they're getting close again to winning, being part of that very attractive technology sport has served them well.
Coming back to you, not Formula One, what's next for you? What's next for Whisper, Velocity Experience, maybe new ventures? What's next for you?
Yeah, well, if I talk about Whisper, which is the television production side of things, then we want to continue to grow the various forms of production that we have. Sport is in the DNA of what we started with and is very important. Anyone who's in production will know that there's other more profitable arms to production, and so the branded and documentary side is an ever-growing part. And we want to be at the forefront of the new technologies as well. So that's something I get really excited about, and we can certainly use my insight to sports like Formula One to try and bring that to the company. The goal is to be the largest production business in the world. I was going to say in the universe, but I think Elon Musk is probably well ahead of me on that front. So let's continue towards trying to achieve that goal.
My final question is about what do you miss in Formula One, or is there one thing you would change about Formula One right now?
As a Scotsman, the only thing I miss about being a Formula One driver is the salary. That was pretty good. To be paid to do what you do for fun, that's a gift. So any professional sports person knows what that gift is like, to be paid to do what you love doing. I lost the thought of your last part of the question, sorry, about Formula One. What?
Is there one thing that you're missing, or one thing you would change about it?
I would, as quickly as possible, make it within this hybrid era possible for the speed through the corner to still be a defining moment of driving a Grand Prix car. And by that, and again, I appreciate that maybe not everyone's a Formula One fan, But historically, we've had circuits and we've had corners where even before you arrive at that circuit, you're thinking about this one corner, because this is a corner that's maybe taken at 180 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour. And at high speed comes high consequence. And failures tend to happen at high speed. They don't tend to happen in 40-mile-an-hour corners. So to take away that anticipation of the challenge and the danger, because, let's face it, life is dangerous. We all end up in the same place, hopefully after a long life. But part of the thrill for a driver is to experience the edge of adhesion and to be challenged by these great corners. And with the current hybrid split, then we're in a recovery mode, which is very, let's say, productive to harvest energy at very high speed, especially before fast corners, because then the benefit on the exit is much higher. So what it does is take away some of the challenge. So maybe it would be like saying the Hahnenkammer in skiing there's a policeman with a speed gun, and if anyone goes above a certain speed, you have to slow down. Or maybe in boxing, you're not allowed to punch in the face anymore. It would still be the pinnacle, but it just somehow takes away that there has to be, in my mind, a certain fear. Racing drivers are not fearless. Fear defines a limit. And I worked with, and raced with Michael Schumacher, who was one of the most successful guys. Amazingly, I raced when Lewis Hamilton started his career. So I've raced against and worked with, two of the most successful guys in the sport. And they have fear. And fear helps us pump adrenaline and helps us make better decisions. So I don't think we should lose that over at the expense of it being a technical exercise. Sorry, maybe a slightly long answer for the question.
No, that's perfect. But you're saying we need fear, but we also need to be very cautious of security, if I understand. So how to find the middle point?
I think we found it. I think the cars are incredibly safe. When I started in 1994, 2 drivers were killed that weekend in San Marino. Roland Ratzenberger lost his life on the Saturday, and Ayrton Senna lost his life on the Sunday. The driver's head was very exposed. The first Grand Prix cars I drove, my shoulders were sticking out of the car. That was the norm at the time. But we've now made an incredibly strong safety cell, and we have the protection around the driver's head. So I don't think we're in this big quest for safety. I think it's about maintaining where we are. And if you compare to MotoGP, which has just been bought by Liberty, yes, they have really good leather protection and they have airbags, but they're doing over 200 miles an hour, and they're still incredibly exposed. So I think that life, we have choices. Some people choose to free climb without a rope. Some people choose to be over 200 miles an hour on a MotoGP, and some people go in a Formula One car. I think the safest of those 3 is Formula One.
Thanks a lot, David. It was a pleasure to have you.